And by the way, I'm not really sure what happened to the universe that Ezra leaves at the end. Because if it's still in place, that means that Zod won. And Zod destroyed the Earth and repopulated it with the Kryptons from the DNA or the blood that he got from Supergirl, who he killed. And it also means Ezra got killed in this universe. So, yes, he really left that timeline in a complete mess if it still stayed intact. But if by going back to his own time that reversed everything that he did, then I guess that universe wouldn't still be there. So I don't really know what the state of it is. Is that universe still there? That timeline where Zod came and killed Supergirl? Because if it is still there, then the planet is gone, basically, and there was no solution to defeating Zod, which again was the point of the film, but it also was silly because, Ezra wanted to stop Zod like in the normal timeline, but he also wanted to save the city from being destroyed because he was actually there on the ground. He only managed to save one kid. He could not save the father, and then I guess he just ran off. But that was a regret of his. That's why he wanted to go to Batman and find the other Justice League to help save more people. But that also doesn't make sense because he's not supposed to be interfering with the timeline like he was told with Bruce. And that was the whole point of why he didn't tackle his mum's killer. Like one-on-one, he could just stop the killer. But that's why he did the whole discreet thing with the tomatoes on the shelf, putting it in the cart, because he couldn't face people like that. It's too dangerous, he was told. But then suddenly he can face himself, and suddenly he can face Batman, and he was going after Superman, who ended up being Supergirl, and he brought them to the fight, and he went to the fight himself, and the other Ezra, so he did not stick to that rule, clearly, at all. So that's a confusing thing about this. I'm not sure where I would rank this in the DC movies, but I think it would be near the top, to be honest. But I don't even remember how many there are in this universe. Was it better than Shazam? Well, I'm not sure. I probably would put it above. I watched both in the cinema. Shazam is another one where the CGI became a complete mess at the end. Even though I was impressed with it, I think earlier on in the film. It was creative, and there was a lot of it, but I just liked the fun of what the battles they were doing. The great scene with The Rock when he's awakened and he destroys all of the mercenaries. But by the end, the last third of that movie was a complete mess, I felt. Even visually. Mostly visually. But it's difficult to compare. I think there was probably more action in Shazam than this. But the nostalgia of seeing Michael Keaton gives a lot of points, indeed. So another thing I would like to say is, I thought pretty early on in the movie that Ezra himself was going to cause the death of his mother. And in a way he did, but not in the way I thought. I thought by going back in time, that was going to lead to the death of his mother in the past, like as it happened. I thought it would be some kind of time loop, like the Harry Potter actually, where it's just a loop. By them going back in the past, that's what changed the future. But then it's circular, because how originally what caused it? How did they get to that future originally if they didn't go back in time yet? So, but I thought it would be something like that, where the Flash goes back in time to save his mother, but by doing so, that causes the death of his mother. Because there's a TV series called The Flash, and I think it's finished now or on its last season. I don't really watch it, but I was aware because they did address his dad being framed and the mother dying. And it was someone called the Reverse Flash, I believe, who is the Flash but wears a yellow outfit, I think. And yeah, so two super speed people were involved in his mother's death in that series. So I thought, well, now we have two, especially once there's now two Flashes, two Ezra Miller. I thought, well, is it going to be the same story? Because I don't know anything about the Flash in the comics except, what I saw in the series about his father being framed and his mother was killed, and there was this Reverse Flash. So I thought he's now gone back in time to stop his mother from dying. It would be a very fitting twist if, but also predictable, because that's what I predicted would happen. But it seems obvious, doesn't it? And there's this annoying Ezra a younger Ezra who has Flash powers, and then eventually they both get the Flash powers. So there's two of them running around, and one of them knows that about the mother being killed in this alternative timeline. And the younger Flash is trying to stop the older Flash at the end of the movie from going back in time or undoing whatever he did with the tomatoes. So I thought, that would be, it basically writes itself in that department. But it's also predictable, so I'm not that mad that they didn't do it. I'm not mad at all, actually, but it still feels like that logically would have been the twist, that he caused it. But maybe they just decided that's been done over and over and over again, so maybe they just wanted a different twist in this slightly. But yes, I did think maybe the two Flashes could have been fighting. The younger one is too hot-headed and he doesn't listen and wants to do what he wants to do and wants to stop the older one from messing up the mum from, surviving. But that didn't happen in this film. They didn't have a Flash fight. But that's what I was expecting after seeing some episode in the series, where there was a Flash fight in the house and the mother ended up dead, I think. Oh, no, I think... I think the younger... I think in the series the Flash was just a boy and then he saw did he see? I'm not sure. But I don't think there was a Flash fight necessarily. But maybe there was. All of this time stuff is confusing, but I got the impression there was a fight between the two, the Reverse Flash and the Flash, in the series. I think maybe that's when he went back in time to try and stop his mum from dying, perhaps. I don't really remember. I didn't follow the series closely at all. But, okay, my final thoughts on this movie. My rating, I mean. That boring wasteland battle was such a disappointment. So I have to take away at least one Moonshin for that. So, and then, like I said, it didn't go far enough with the multiverse aspect of it. How many multiverse chances are you going to have? I mean, they have the rest of eternity to keep making movies, but since they made a multiverse movie, they should have taken advantage of that even more. They could have brought back Arnold. All these actors are still alive. You don't even have to CGI their face. Use your actors if you're going to do a story like this. You could have used anybody. Danny DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer, Jack Nicholson. I imagine he probably wouldn't agree to do it, but You know, I saw an interview. The actor for Zod kind of regretted doing this movie. He felt like it was pointless bringing him back. And he also said something about not wanting to do MCU movies because, oh, Star Wars it was. I think he was offered something in Star Wars and he said it's something like they're silly movies or, you know, not interesting. So, yes, again, I just don't understand. It would have been better if the fight was in the city again, like in Man of Steel. But I guess they just didn't want a repeat of the final battle from Man of Steel in the city, so they just chose some barren wasteland, which was a bad choice. And the fakest looking part of the entire film, which is not good for the final battle. Still not as bad as Justice League, but you know, that had pink stuff flying all over the place and crazy stuff. But at least that wasn't a complete barren wasteland with a few soldiers running here and there. And like one ship that landed. Well, there were also ships chasing Batman for some reason. They said they don't know he's on their side, even though surely they recognize who Batman is at this point. But, okay, so 1 point off for the boring wasteland. 1 point off for not going through the multiverse better. You could have brought in, like I said, Supergirl. I didn't mind her, but you know, the nostalgic factor writes itself. Why is it Supergirl who we've never seen before? Why isn't it Christopher Reeve? Is that his name? The Batman from the 60s or 70s. The original movies. They could have brought him back. If they didn't want to bring him back because they thought distasteful to bring someone back from the dead, then why did they bring him back in that little, you know... to be fair, it was just a cameo, but they did bring him back, and I don't know if they reused footage for that scene, or if it was complete CGI or what. But it did look completely fake, but still. It may have been from an old movie, from one of the old movies. Maybe that's why it didn't quite fit into, you know, maybe that's why he looked kind of like a ghost. But they could have brought back, like I said, Smallville's the Superman, or the Superman from Superman Returns. Bring back someone who has a nostalgic factor. I just thought it would be nice, Christopher Reeve, since, you know, he was the first big Batman, Superman in a blockbuster movie, just like Michael Keaton was the first Batman in a big blockbuster movie, with this sort of... well, to be fair, I don't know how successful the 1960s Batman movie was, because there was a 1960s movie with the guy from the series and Robin and the campy version. But I certainly don't think it was a big hit like Tim Burton's or Superman. Whoever directed Superman, I'm not sure. But yes, it feels like originally someone had in mind, we will use Christopher Reeve Superman. But then maybe someone decided, no, we will use Supergirl instead. It seems super random to have Supergirl in this movie. You would think, just bring back Christopher Reeve, you know, logically speaking, and ignoring ethics of, you know, AI or deepfake or CGI characters. Like they brought back Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One, and, you know, people had some issues with how he looked more than anything, even though I think he looked very good. Leia looked bad in that movie, but Tarkin I thought looked very good. But yeah, this is an issue, whether it's right to bring people back from the dead who did not agree to this, you know. But maybe even asking their estate, I mean, they could agree just for the money of it. They could agree to anything that the original actor might not have wanted. But I don't know how this works. Again, it felt very weird that there was no reference to the Nolan films that I remember That's like a big chunk of Batman history just gone right there. Oh yes, I didn't think about this before, but there was no reference to Wonder Woman either. Linda Carter. They could have shown Linda Carter from, the old series, the original Wonder Woman. They didn't show that either. So I'm taking off a point. And those annoying roommates. That scene went on too long with them. I feel this is not as big a deal, but I guess in terms of enjoyment, it is a big deal. Because it takes up time. And I'm wondering, where are we going from here? So, I don't know whether to take off just 1 point or half a point for this. I will decide that I'll take off half a point for the annoying roommates. And the unnecessary Last Jedi Batman that was forced in there for no reason, and it just it was pointless. What was the point? They did not give us a good reason for it. The only thing was, they don't need me anymore. And that was before they even asked him for help. So he didn't give a reason why he wouldn't help them. It was just in there for tension, or I guess. Haven't they learned yet? Last Jedi, Obi-Wan, Indiana Jones apparently doing something similar. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing, but he's old. But, yes. But I think I'll take off half a point for that as well, because it didn't go on too long, but it's just a waste of time for me. There's no reason. It's not something they explored hardly. It was just there in the beginning, saying no one needs me, and then later on he changes his mind and helps and takes him to Russia. There's never any exploration of why he changed his mind, or, it's just there. And then there's the weird lightning mechanics. Yeah, on one hand I'm thinking it's a silly superhero idea. Someone can run super fast, can go back in time. Why does it matter? Why couldn't someone stand in front of you and the lightning goes through both of you, and then one loses their powers and one gains powers, and then later on they recreate it with a bat kite in the sky, and then he gets hit by lightning but it doesn't work, and he's not dead either, and then Supergirl comes and takes him to the sky, and then he gets hit by lightning, and now it works. But at the same time, it just felt I couldn't help but shake the feeling that it's just too against all odds to be able to perfectly replicate your powers in these 3 different scenarios, and they all have the same result to the person gaining the power. So, half a point there, maybe. And that rescue scene at the beginning, again, took too long, was kind of awkward how long it took, unnecessarily. And the inconsistent time travel precautions, as I said, he wasn't supposed to go back in time because he can't interact with anyone, and then he immediately interacts with himself and Batman and Supergirl and brings them along for a great battle. So, yes. I don't even remember if he fought Zod in the movie. Did he even bother to fight Zod? I don't think he did. Oh wait, he did briefly. They surrounded him, I think, in some tornado. But then he got out of it. So, 1 point for the boring wasteland. 1 point for the boring multiverse. That could have been greater. Annoying roommates, I'll take off half a point. So we're on 7.5. Are we? Yes. Unnecessary Last Jedi Batman, I'll give it another half a point. 7. Weird lightning mechanics, too long rescue, 6.5 now, if we take off another half. And then the inconsistent time travel precautions, I'll take off another half. So we're on 6 out of 10. And to be honest, I have to go with my gut also. 6 out of 10 does not sound high enough for this movie. To be honest. It just does not. But should I stick or should I change my calculation? You know, I'll change the not going far enough with the multiverse. I'll change that to a half a point. Or maybe should I change them all to half a point? You know, because it's not that big of a deal. It's just the fact that they're probably not going to make a movie like this again anytime soon. In DC, with The Flash, with, you know, maybe they'll find a way. In the MCU, they did it with Doctor Strange. But they also had other ways to access the multiverse. Loki did something that I never watched. And I think there was another way that I can't recall. But, okay, let's say this. I will take off even the boring wasteland battle. I'm thinking, is it really worth 1 point? But, you know, I don't know. The story is more important than the visuals. But the story was also kind of hokey at the end. But it was also emotional. It was nostalgic at times. Batman... Yeah, this is why I said it should have been Christopher Reeve. Because when Supergirl is being killed, it really doesn't feel... Like, why does Ezra care so much for Supergirl? And I know because she needed help. But it would have been much more emotional if it was Christopher Reeve or the actor from Superman Returns, who was supposed to be Christopher Reeve, they're supposed to be the same Superman. Superman Returns is supposed to be a sequel to, I think, the original movie with Christopher Reeve. But I think it ignores Superman 4, at least, and maybe 3 also. Definitely 4, from what I recall. But it's supposed to be the same person, just like Michael Keaton is supposed to be the same Batman as George Clooney and Val Kilmer. So it would have been more emotional if it was meant to be the same guy. But instead it's Supergirl, and it's just kind of off. So I felt bad for giving it only 6 out of 10. So what I have done is I combined the annoying roommates and the too long baby rescue scene at the beginning of the movie, which took way too long and had nothing to do with the rest of the movie. I mean, I could see the vision for it. It was awkward when it took too long, you know. So I combined those into 0.5 points that I'm taking off. I've combined. The boring wasteland battle, I considered reducing that from 1 point off to 0.5 off, but I just couldn't. I mean, I literally did, but then I took it back because, first of all, you could say half a point for how boring the setting was, and also half a point for how bad it looked, the CGI, the green screen, whatever they did. It just looked terrible, that final battle. So that's staying at 1 point. And then 0.5 for the multiverse not being used to its fullest potential. Like I said, could have had Superman, Christopher Reeve, or whoever the actor was in Batman Returns. And by the way, the Smallville actor and the Batman Returns actor did return in the series. In I don't remember which series it was, but some DC Legends of Tomorrow, it may have been that. But they appeared on a TV series in some multiverse story. So they have returned as themselves, but they could have brought one of them in as this role that Supergirl had, at least. And then it would have felt more fitting. And then 0.5 points off for the unnecessary Last Jedi Batman, 0.5 points off for the weird lightning mechanics. I was scratching my head a little. And then another half point for the inconsistent time travel precautions. So that adds up to 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. 10 moonshins minus 3.5 moonshins equals 6.5 moonshins. And even now I feel a little bad for it. I feel I could give it a 7 just for nostalgia, but I feel I've been fair enough already. 6 to 7 out of 10, probably 6.5 to 7 out of 10. Moonshins overall, and I do feel bad even at 6.5. I feel it should be at least a 7, but officially I am giving it a 6.5 out of 10. Maybe I could have combined the weird lightning mechanics and the inconsistent time travel precautions into one. And in which case, it would have gained an extra half a point and made it to 7 out of 10 moonshins. But I don't know. I feel these are two separate things. If I continue movie reviews, I'm sure you will find a lot of inconsistency in how I add up these things. And that's just the nature of giving movies a number, I guess, out of 10. They're not going to compare in certain ways, and you will say, why this over this? How can this have more moonshins than another out of 10? But I've got to work it out some way. I did enjoy the movie, but it could have been better, I think. It could have been better. But I did not dislike the movie, so I don't know. What do you think? Do you think 6.5 is too low? Should I have given it a 7? What is your score out of 10 for this movie? Maybe I could add points for, things that they did well, like the emotion with the mother or the nostalgia. Maybe I could be adding points after removing points. What do you think for me? Let me know below. Let me know your thoughts, your expectations, and your crimes. Farewell, my moonshins. Take care, my moonshins. Ah!